Hey guys, we've got some extremely important news to talk about here about one of the new builders here in Utah. This is some extremely important information. And this was something that I kind of, when it first came up, I just thought, okay, yeah, no worries. You know, this happens. It's going to come up from time to time. But now this has happened multiple times and we're starting to see a pattern here, and it's got me a little bit concerned. And I feel like I need to talk about it here on this channel. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I'm all about transparency. I just tell it how it is, and I try to give everybody an accurate representation of what to expect when moving here to Utah. Or even if you already live here locally, I want to do the exact same thing. And on that note, if you are thinking about buying or selling real estate, please reach out to me. Call, text, or email anytime. I absolutely love hearing from you guys, and I cannot wait to hear from you as well. So with that being said, what we're talking about here today is going to be the problems that we're seeing among one of the builders, and that builder is Edge Homes. Edge Homes has been coming up in the news multiple times over the last couple months for problems with their home. We're starting to see settling on some of the homes that Edge has built across numerous different areas. So this is starting to get a little bit concerning, and it's something that, like I said, in the very beginning, I kind of just thought, okay, yeah, no worries. You know, this is going to happen time to time. You've got thousands of homes being built at any given moment. Of course, there's going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 homes that do have some settling issues. However, where this is coming up and it's in multiple communities in a very short amount of time, it does cause raise for concern. And that's why I want to talk about it here with you today. Now, that being said, I will put out the disclosure that I have worked with Edge Homes numerous times over the course of my career. I've in the past felt like they were a pretty good builder and have built pretty good homes. However, seeing some of this information does give me a reason to pause and kind of say, okay, wait, you know, if it was all these different builders in one area having issues, okay, it's probably the area. But if it's the same builder having issues in numerous different areas, then it's probably the builder, right? So we're going to jump in here and take a look at this, discuss a little bit about what's happening with this. Of course, having settling in your home is one of the most problematic things and something that nobody wants to have. I'd say that for any, especially new home buyers who are looking at purchasing a home, having some type of foundation or settlement issues is their biggest fear. And I think that's rightfully so, because it is going to be incredibly expensive to repair. Especially if you're buying an older home, you're not going to have any backstops like a warranty or anything like that to help you. And so that cost may fall onto you as the home buyer, which can be concerning. So with that said, let's jump in here and take a look at this. Newly built homes deemed unlivable due to sliding soil. So this article actually came out on December 2nd. So this was, let's say about, 4 months ago now. And when I first saw this article, I thought, okay, yeah, this is going to happen. This is in one particular area. It's up on a hillside. Of course, there's going to be some issues with this. When you're building on, on a hillside, that soil is going to be a little bit unstable. So it didn't really kind of surprise me when I first saw this. Let's take a look at this article here. If you want to know what a sinking home sounds like, just ask Eric and Carol Kamrat. Can you imagine somebody hitting a baseball solid with a nice wooden bat? Big, huge crack. That's what I would hear. The sounds of his brand new home cracking echoed day and night while lying in bed or trying to work from home. The Kamrats moved into their new home in the Hidden Canyon Estates development in Draper in December 2021. It's a development by Edge Homes. 2 months later, Carol Kamrat said she noticed the first signs of damage. I just thought, that's weird. A new build, the sidewalk shouldn't be cracking even as cold as it gets up here. Eric Kamrat said Edge Homes came out to measure the movement as the damage worsened. They're actually measuring the ceiling, and they do it week after week, he explained. They can see movement. We know the house is sinking. Plus, you can go outside on the back side of the house where we have a deck off the master bedroom, and the pillars are separated as much as 4 inches. Eric said there was a corner of the house that had sunk approximately 10 inches. That's crazy, guys. When you really think about that, sinking 10 inches is absolutely insane. You might get a little bit of settling here or there, but 10 inches is definitely not normal. That's enough to cause your home to, collapse or have bigger issues. When you walk, for instance, in my primary closet, it's kind of like leaning like you're in a fun house or something. That's also surprising because, again, if you ever lived in an old home, you will know that that's fairly common. And something that does come up, you're going to have some of those uneven floors, but those are homes that were built, 100 years ago, 120 years ago. So of course, they're going to have some issues like that because the building standards were just not quite as good. You should not be having that here in 2023 when homes are brand new and have, insane amounts of construction going into them, and design and architecture and engineering. All of those things should definitely prevent this type of problem. Draper City first approached us about how bad the movement was and said, prepare for us to just one day show up and kick you out, so you better start packing. That day finally came in late October when both the Kamrat home and their next door neighbor's home had their certificates of occupancy revoked. Draper city officials told us by email the residences were inspected and determined not to meet building code. This is crazy. I mean, I can't imagine getting kicked out of your house. It's pretty wild here. So we come down a little bit further. We're just skipping some of this other stuff. In June, Draper building officials sent an email to Edge Homes indicating they had begun investigating the sinking homes and there were definite signs of retention, wall and slope failure. For months, Draper and Edge Homes went back and forth about the proper fix. After a heated meeting in October, Edge proposed fixes to the properties that Draper decided still does not sufficiently address code violations related to dangerous structures. So basically Edge was saying, hey, we're going to do this. They were going back and forth fighting about it. And they basically said, here's a proposal for you. And the city said, no, that still doesn't fix the problem. This was detailed in an email dated November 2nd from the city to Edge Homes and a third-party engineering firm. Coming down a little bit further, the statement continued, at the present time, we're finalizing engineered plans to perform permanent remedies to ensure no additional shifting or settlement will occur in the future and to fix existing damage to the physical structures and components of the home. In short, we are doing everything we reasonably can to resolve the issues and be fair to the homeowners. So that's article number 1, right? That's something that's obviously very concerning and something we need to talk about. If we jump over here and talk about this newest article, if we scroll back up here, cracking, sinking, and falling apart. KSL investigates structural issues in multiple new homes. Now, this is an article that just came out yesterday, so it's very timely. I was actually just showing some Edge Homes to a client, and this actually, I got back to the office, pulled up the news, and sure enough, this is the first thing that pops up. So it's kind of crazy. Needless to say, we're probably not going to be going with Edge Homes after this point. Utah needs more homes. That has been the mantra of many government officials for the last several years. While Utah's new home construction market is booming, some of these new homeowners have seen massive construction issues, cracking walls, sloping floors, and sinking foundations. It's not what Chris and Connie Broski thought that they would be dealing with when they built their new home in Bluffdale. So if you remember, the other home was in Draper. Up on the hillside is actually part of Suncrest. This home here is in Bluffdale. They said we saved for 2 years. A year after moving in the home, they said they started to see settling. For months, their lives were disrupted as workers dug out their finished basement and putting in piers. Now, if we come down, it says, hey, these are not the only ones, right? The Broski story is a familiar one. In December, KSL investigators shared the story of Eric and Carol, who we just talked about, after Draper forced them out of their home. They've been renting another home since then. In Eagle Mountain, Hayes Barnes said he put in multiple warranty claims since his family moved into their new home in 2019. So now you've got Draper, you've got Bluffdale, and now you've got Eagle Mountain. We started having cracks in the basement. They continue to grow and more cracks are in there. They say it's normal to have that. So let me just pause right here and just say, yes, it is normal to have a little bit of settling in your property, right? In a market, especially like this in Utah, where it gets very hot in the summer and then very cold and wet and snowy in the winter, you're going to have at least a little bit of settling. Engineers and architects know that, and they're going to plan for this. It actually says a little bit here further on in the article that they plan for up to 1 inch of settling. And in most cases, you're only going to see roughly about 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/2 inch of settling. So yes, you are going to get some cracks in your foundation floor, not in the walls, but in the floor. Yes, that is common. That is something that you can't escape. That's just how concrete works. And it's just how your foundation is going to behave in this weather climate. So that's something that's very important. It is a little bit normal, but in the case of that last article we talked about where it was a 10-inch settlement, that is definitely not normal. Barnes said he heard pops and cracks in the homes. Our stairs are just pulling away from our wall. There's a common thread here. Each family built with Edge Homes. Now, this is actually kind of painful to talk about here. I actually just recently made a video talking about the top builders in Utah by volume, not necessarily who's the best or who does, who builds here or there or whatever, but just talking about how many builders sold homes in 2022 and what those numbers actually looked like for, how many home sales they did. So, and Edge Homes was actually at the top of that list. They were, I think, number 2 on that list. And so it's pretty concerning to see that they're building this many homes, having issues in multiple different areas. It's definitely not a good look for them. Like I said, I've worked with them many times in the past, and this is really concerning. So if you're thinking about making a move here, or you're looking at new construction, you already live in the area, make sure to do this due diligence and do some research and make sure to get somebody on your side. Hopefully that's me. I want to be your trusted real estate resource, but get somebody on your side who can help you through this process. Make sure they're looking out for your best interest, and most importantly, are going to share information like this with you and not just tell you how it's all tulips and dandies out there, right? It's going to be just this thing that it doesn't matter which builder you go with or what area you build in. There are things that you need to know, and this is the type of information that I want to make sure you're prepared to have. So if you're in that position, I'd love to help you. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, reach out to me. My information will be here on the screen. Let's continue on with our article here. And come back down, we've got a couple more things to talk about that are incredibly important. So hazards beneath Utah soils. None of these homeowners are building experts, but looking at the sales contract, they might be expected to have a builder's background. A clause labeled soils disclosure indicated the buyer acknowledges that it has been given the opportunity to completely review reports of these soils, investigations, and other tests. By signing this agreement, buyer waives any warranty regarding the soils on the property, under the residence, and under common elements. So most builders are actually going to have verbiage very similar to this in their own contract. It's very important that you read this information. Most builders are going to have it. If you said, hey, I don't want to agree to that, they're going to just tell you to get lost, right? They don't want to deal with you. They've got other people who will buy the home. So this is something you're going to have to agree to, but it is still good to protect yourself. Make sure you're going through the necessary inspections, asking for these reports, and kind of going through that process to make sure you've got everything lined up so that you can kind of protect yourself and give yourself the best shot to avoid having a problem like this. If we come back down here a little bit further, it's going to be difficult, right? KSL investigators looked through these reports for the homeowners who contacted us. While some information was self-explanatory, we did seek out a professional engineer to help with the rest. If we come down here, Rollins, who's a professor, an engineering professor at Brigham Young University, said we aren't alone in our curiosity. He explained that Utah has two common types of problematic soils. In the valley floors, there's compressible clay. If you load them, they can settle a lot. In the foothills, Rollins indicated soils are relatively stable when dry, but adding water creates instability and potentially even landslides. Rollins said homes can still be built in these areas, but not without proper soil treatment. That could involve digging out the unfit soil and replacing it with a more stable soil, or placing the home's foundation on supports that rest on load-bearing strata like bedrock. Loose fill is a real problem actor because it can settle when it becomes wet and settle quite a lot, up to 10% of its height. So if you've got 10 to 15 feet of fill, you could have a foot of settlement if it's not compacted well. This is something I see a lot of builders have errors with. They don't compact the ground, especially when they backfill the property. They don't compact the ground as well as they should. So basically what they do is they dig a big hole, they pour the basement foundation, and then they take the dirt and they fill it up against the backfilling, because they're basically filling up the area around the foundation on the outside where there's going to be dirt and then eventually landscaping, right? They don't end up compacting that very much or as well as they should. And unfortunately, you do get, ground that will kind of settle towards the house, and then you start getting water falling off the roof and then ending up right next to the property. So you do have to watch out for that as you finish your landscaping. Most new homes will settle as temperatures change and cause foundations to expand and contract. This means that cracks can appear, which should be no wider than 1/4 of an inch. Rollins said engineers designed for settlement of no more than an inch. It's when you start to get 3 or 4 inches of settlement that you start to have problems. So they're going to say that, you're going to have cracks, which should be no wider than 1/4 of an inch, like we talked about before. 1/4, maybe 1/2 an inch in an extreme circumstance. However, the engineers design for settlement of no more than an inch, so up to an inch of settlement from these engineers. One last thing here for the Camrat's Home and Edge and Draper. Edge said tons of soil was dug out and replaced before building, as recommended by the engineer. They say the third-party excavator hired to remove the soils did not do so properly, leaving some loose soils below the home, which is contributing to settling issues. Edge indicated they've severed their relationship with that excavator. Regardless, Edge Homes said these homeowners will have their issues fixed at no charge. In a statement to KSL, Edge said they stand by their 10-year structural warranty and remain fully committed to the long-term remedies and taking care of our homeowners. The Broskis and Edge Homes told KSL they've talked and settled all claims to the Broskis' satisfaction. So it's pretty interesting to see this. It's really actually pretty concerning. Like I said in the beginning, of course, there's going to be an issue here or there. You just can't avoid it when you've got thousands of homes being built. Of course, you're going to have some issues come up. But the fact that, Edge Homes is having problems in multiple different cities is actually pretty concerning. And I think something that, should cause you to kind of take pause and make sure that you're protecting yourself along the way. So in this instance, could I recommend Edge Homes? It's going to be really tough, right? You're going to have to be very careful. You're going to have to ask for these reports. Make sure you go through all the necessary steps if you're looking at a home that was built by Edge. All the other builders so far, at least as far as I'm aware, have had fairly clean records. I'm sure they've had an issue here or there, but nothing that's been publicized as much as this. So you should be okay with most other builders. Of course, there's always going to be a little bit of risk. You can never take 100% of the risk away from the home buying process, but that's why it's important to have somebody on your side who can help you through that process. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're thinking about buying or selling real estate here in Utah, anywhere across the entire state, my team and I love helping you people, and we love hearing from you. So reach out to me, call, text, or email anytime. Before you go, share this video with a friend, a family member. Maybe it's a spouse, mom and dad, somebody who's looking at building or thinking about making a move to Utah. They might enjoy this information. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out that newsletter in the link down below in the description box. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.